Okay, so this isn't really an Ask HershNoeie, but someone sent me a message on Facebook, and they asked me, would I actually take um, the new, excuse me, I do that every time. I apologize. They asked me, would I take the any sort of the new COVID vaccines? I've seen a few different people make comments on Facebook about, their thoughts and whatnot, and this, that, and the other. One of the things that people are concerned with when it comes to vaccines, and some of these are legitimate concerns and others are just, but it's just true. But I can understand why people are a little concerned about this. One is just the amount of time. The fact that it took 9 months. I mean, basically, these vaccines were produced faster than a woman can be pregnant and deliver a baby. Yeah, I know 9 months, but it's barely 9 months that they created a vaccine. So I think for some folks, it's like, I will say this, if it is true that these vaccines are really, really good, and it seems like that they will be, and the fact that we've been able to shave off years, that we're able to create a vaccine, or several in this case, there's so far three that have come out and they've talked about their efficacy and all that. If all that holds true, then science has advanced super fast in terms of what we've all thought was possible. The girls want me to blow up this little ball. It's the University of Washington ball, right? But I was just now playing with it and it's shooting out air. The problem is they gave it to the dog and he bit it and broke it or busted it. Anyway, tangent. Yeah, there's a hole in it. So I told him I could air it up, but I can't air up a busted ball. Anyway, so it really does show how fast we've actually can do something. And just in terms of technology, the where we are is a little freaky at times. And not just this, I'm talking about other things. The fact that businesses can build rockets to go up into space, that at one point was like, dang. Because I wanted to, when I was going to college, I was looking heavily into becoming a aerospace engineer. And I know how complicated it is to build the old shuttle that NASA uses. I know how complicated that is. I don't know everything. But just the tiny little section that I do know about, it's like, dang, that is like, it's impossible. And now you have businesses that are doing that, and they're building rockets that can come back and land right back down on a pad and sit upright. Like, that was one of the most expensive parts of the whole launch. It's because a lot of the stuff just, you couldn't use it anymore. But now we're able to reuse a lot of stuff, and so that freaked me out. I was like, okay. I remember before that, nanotechnology. The fact that they could develop stuff where, water would run right off of something and it would not adhere to it. It wouldn't get wet or any of that, and different things. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. And robots. The fact that robots can, perform. I think they used a robot on me when they removed the gallbladder. You know what I mean? Like, and robots that can run and trot. I remember the biggest thing was they couldn't get robots to really walk. So they had them on wheels. And then when they did walk, it was kind of weird, or they'd fall over. Now they are able to run and jump and hop and do backflips and different things like that. And now they have them where that they're more realistic, and that you look at their face and it looks like there's actual skin like a human. Like some of that stuff's kind of freaky. I remember when, VR, they were talking about VR. back when I was a kid, and that it would be a whole room experience. And they had all these different little nodes everywhere. And you have to be in this big old huge thing with wires and you can interact. But, I have a VR somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but I have a little VR headset thing. And it freaks you out, right? But now it has went above and beyond even that. And that's not that old. You know what I mean? So it's like, dang. The Hyperloop. Elon Musk is doing that. Or no. Is it Elon? I can't remember. Somebody. It's one of them. But like the whole Hyperloop thing, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what? So the fact that we would be able to create a vaccine that takes out a pandemic in 9 months, is it definitely possible? It seems that way. Obviously, given the technology that we've been able to come up with just in the last 5-6 years. Yeah, it's possible. Now, will I take it? I'm not going to be the first one lining up saying here. The people who done that, who basically, that were the frontiers of this, who took the shots, I take my hat off to them. But I'm going to be waiting a bit. One, I think people have to wait a little bit, unless you're in unless you're like a frontline worker. But even some of those folks, I've talked to one or two, and they're like, we have a little bit of a choice to wait a little bit to see kind of how it works out. But yeah, I think that I definitely will. I think it shows that man can do a lot of different things. If we put our mind to it, we really focus on things, we stop the stupidity, there's not much that we can't conquer. And I think that this sickness has taught us, it should teach us, that life is very easy to be altered. It very much can be. And that we can't take things for granted, that we really and truly should pay more attention to things that we kind of take for granted and that we overlook. That, yeah, just like that, something can happen and it really does affect us. I think that there's a lot of diseases that can be cured, but there's not as big of a push because those are a little bit harder to get. And I think that there's not this drive. It's kind of like, well, if you hadn't been doing that, you wouldn't have got this. Whereas with this, it's like you can just be in a room and there you go. Boom. So I think that has really sped this up. I think it's great that there are these 3 different ones. And I think there'll probably be a 4th or 5th or 6th. But I think that's great. And recently there's one that's going to work in the developing world, which it should be there. I think some of the poorest places in the world should be places that get vaccinated also, because the problem is a lot of times there are countries that still battle and deal with malaria. You know what I mean? Or that still battle and deal with old world diseases. And it shouldn't be that way. And a lot of times those issues can be brought to other nations like the United States, Canada, different places. It can be brought to places where it's not an issue or that we haven't had those issues. But because we haven't had a campaign to spread all of these different vaccines all over the planet in a fair way, they rear their heads every now and again. Hopefully with this particular situation, and it seems like that's what the plan is, I don't know if it will be, is that they're hoping to do that. And they came out with one that's cheaper, because most of the vaccines are like $15 to $20 in cost. This one's like a couple of bucks. They came out yesterday. So I think that's great. But it should be something that's offered all over the planet, because the world is a very mobile place. Now more than it was last year. Well, not now, because the sickness. But you get what I'm saying. So I think that they should, because it doesn't do any good if we here in the U.S. are, vaccinated and we're good to go. But then as soon as we travel someplace that's fun, we end up getting sick all over again, bringing it back and starting the whole process. So it makes sense to work in areas that don't have the infrastructure, don't have the money. Some of the poorest, most inaccessible places definitely needs to have this vaccine for sure, or the series of different vaccines for sure. We need to be able to share that, because if we don't, it's gonna bite us. But anyhow, to answer your question, what are my thoughts? I think it's great. If everything they're saying is great and true, I think it's wonderful. It doesn't shock me anymore that they can develop stuff like this so quickly, because I just mentioned a whole list of things that just have come about. But I will take it. It's going to be a little bit. It'll be a little bit. I want to wait and see how everybody else, handles it. But yeah, I think, and the other thing is too, they're saying that they want for everyone to be vaccinated, and that's going to be a heavy lift. It is going to be a heavy lift, but I think that we have a lot of the infrastructure in place, a lot of different drugstores and different things like that. Walmart will probably play a big part in it. I mean, Walmart's everywhere except for Seattle. But yeah, I think that it's definitely possible. I think it will be easy to kind of roll out. I mean, it's challenging, but I think it'd be easier to roll out than what folks think. But it's just going to be a little bit for me. But anyhow, let me know what you think. Make sure you join our Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. What do you think? Are you going to take it? You're going to wait a little bit? You're going to be the first one in line? Let me know what you think. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.